You know, they say billionaires just operate on a different level. They build empires, they change the world, and they stay relentlessly focused while the rest of us are drowning in emails. But what if their biggest secret isn't their money, but their biology? What if they've figured out how to upgrade their own human hardware? For 30 days, I decided to find out. I tried the most powerful physical and mental biohacks used by the world's elite to see if I could steal their blueprint for peak performance. The results were not what I expected. And that first week was absolute hell. Let's be honest, my life before this whole experiment was pretty average. My mornings were a chaotic scramble fueled by caffeine and cortisol. My focus was shattered into a million pieces by endless notifications. And my energy would totally crash every day around 3 p.m., leaving me in a brain-fogged stupor. I was busy, but I wasn't productive. I was surviving, not thriving. I felt stuck. And I just knew there had to be a better way. So, I went down a rabbit hole. I started reading about the routines of people who operate at the highest level imaginable. People like Twitter co-founder Jack Dorsey, hedge fund billionaire Ray Dalio, and the notoriously intense Elon Musk. I discovered a common thread. They don't just manage their time, they manage their biology. They use a series of practices, what we call biohacking, to control their energy, focus, and resilience. I decided I was going to commit to 30 days of their lifestyle. I wasn't just going to dabble. I was going all in. My protocol had 5 core pillars, each one borrowed from the playbook of the ultra-successful. First, the brutal morning cold plunge. It's a practice popular in elite circles, and Jack Dorsey has talked about starting his day with one around 5 a.m. He says it gives him incredible mental confidence. The science here suggests that cold exposure can trigger a significant release of dopamine and norepinephrine, which can boost mood and focus. Second, a strict 18:6 intermittent fasting window, where I'd only eat between noon and 6 p.m. This is a common fasting pattern, though Dorsey has taken it further, often eating just one meal a day to feel more focused. The theory is that fasting can encourage your body to burn fat for fuel, which some studies on animals and humans suggest may improve cognitive function and reduce inflammation. Third, a specific supplement stack. This is a common practice in Silicon Valley. I focused on things like NAD+ boosters, which are linked to a molecule that's critical for cellular energy and longevity. While much of the human longevity research is still emerging, the theory is compelling. I also added some nootropics like L-theanine with my morning coffee to sharpen my focus without the jitters. Fourth, daily meditation. Not just a few minutes on an app, but the deep kind of practice that billionaire Ray Dalio credits as the single most important influence on his success. He practices transcendental meditation for 20 minutes, twice a day, to calm the chaos and see things from a higher perspective. And finally, the one I knew would be the biggest challenge: radical time management using Elon Musk's time-blocking method. This involves scheduling your entire day in tiny 5 to 15-minute blocks, leaving very little room for distraction. Musk famously uses this to run multiple billion-dollar companies at the same time. The plan was set. I had the schedule, the supplements, and a bathtub full of ice. I was ready to unlock my own inner billionaire. Or so I thought. Day 1. The alarm blares at 4:45 a.m. It's pitch black outside, and my body is screaming for more sleep. The first thought in my head is, why on earth am I doing this? I stumble to the bathroom and look at the tub. It's filled with cold water and 3 bags of ice. It looks less like a wellness tool and more like a medieval torture device. Jack Dorsey says this process unlocks his mind. Right now, the only thing it's unlocking is a deep, primal fear. I take a deep breath and get in. The shock is instant and all-encompassing. It's not just cold. It's a violent, full-body jolt that steals the air from your lungs. My breathing gets frantic. I can't think. I can't do anything but feel the searing pain of the cold. After what feels like an eternity, but was probably only 90 seconds, I scramble out, gasping. Mental confidence? I felt nothing but panic and regret. The rest of the morning wasn't much better. No breakfast, thanks to intermittent fasting. Just black coffee. The hunger pangs were immediate and vicious. By 10 a.m., I had a throbbing headache, and my stomach sounded like it was dying. Then came meditation. 20 minutes of sitting in silence. Ray Dalio calls it a vacation. For me, it was a battle. My mind just raced. I couldn't quiet my mind for more than 3 seconds at a time. Felt like a total failure. Those first 7 days were just a rinse and repeat of misery. Every morning was a fight to get into the ice. Every day was a struggle with hunger and a brain that just would not shut up. I was irritable, exhausted, and I wanted to quit more times than I can count. My productivity, which was supposed to be skyrocketing, had actually nosedived. I couldn't focus on anything but my own discomfort. I was convinced this was all a huge mistake. Billionaires weren't disciplined. They were clearly just masochists. If you've ever felt like quitting something on day 3 because it was just too hard, do me a favor and hit that like button for the BioOptimize channel. It turns out the struggle is part of the process. And while you're at it, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next experiment. Trust me, what happened in week 2 changed everything. Around day 8, something strange happened. I woke up at 4:44 a.m., 1 minute before my alarm. And for the first time, I didn't feel like I'd been hit by a truck. I felt okay. I walked to the bathroom, and while I still dreaded the ice, the sheer panic was gone. I stepped into the water, and this time, I focused on my breathing, deep and slow, a technique from the Wim Hof method. And for the first time, I was able to control that initial shock. The pain was still there, but it wasn't overwhelming anymore. I stayed in for the full 3 minutes. When I got out, instead of shivering and miserable, I felt this strange, powerful wave of energy. My skin was tingling, and my mind was quiet. It was like the cold had shocked my brain into a state of absolute clarity. That feeling of dopamine and norepinephrine was no longer a scientific theory. I could feel it coursing through me. The hunger from fasting also started to change. It wasn't a gnawing pain anymore, but a feeling of lightness and clarity. The 3 p.m. slump that had plagued my entire adult life? It completely vanished. Research suggests that when you fast, your body can start producing ketones for energy, which may be a more stable fuel source for the brain than glucose. I was experiencing what felt like this metabolic switch in real time. My energy levels weren't just stable, they were higher than ever. Meditation started to click, too. Instead of fighting my thoughts, I just started observing them, like the practice teaches. I began to see the patterns of my own mind, the anxieties, the distractions, the repetitive loops. It was like I was stepping back from the chaos and seeing it with perspective, just like Ray Dalio described. I realized he was right. It wasn't about stopping your thoughts. It was about not letting them control you. The time blocking became less of a prison and more of a framework for freedom. By assigning a specific purpose to every minute of my day, I eliminated decision fatigue. I didn't have to wonder what to do next. I just looked at the schedule and got to it. For the first time, I was experiencing these deep, uninterrupted flow states. I'd block off 90 minutes for one important task, turn off my phone, and just work. The world would melt away. The quality and quantity of my work exploded. These biohacks weren't just individual habits anymore. They were starting to work together in a really powerful way. The cold plunge woke me up and gave me the mental grit to face the day. The fasting gave me clean, sustained energy. The meditation gave me the clarity to direct that energy. And the time blocking provided the structure to channel it all into productive output. I was no longer just surviving my day. I was designing it. The journey, the transformation. By week 3, I felt like a different person. The habits that had been agonizingly difficult were now second nature. I wasn't forcing myself to do them anymore. I was being pulled by the positive feelings they created. The 5 a.m. alarm was no longer my enemy. I was consistently waking up before it, feeling rested and ready. My body had adapted. The cold plunge became the best part of my day, a 3-minute reset that guaranteed I'd start the morning with a clear mind and a surge of natural energy. My relationship with food had completely changed. I was eating for fuel, not for comfort. During my eating window, I focused on nutrient-dense foods, and the cravings for sugar and junk food just disappeared. I lost about 8 pounds without even trying, but more importantly, the inflammation in my body felt like it had vanished. My joints didn't ache. My skin was clearer. I was operating with a level of focus I had never experienced. I finished a major project at work 2 weeks ahead of schedule. Ideas were flowing effortlessly. The constant mental chatter that used to fill my brain had been replaced by a sense of calm and presence. I was less reactive, less stressed, and more in control of my emotions. The meditation wasn't just helping me sit still for 20 minutes. It was changing how I navigated the other 23 hours and 20 minutes of my day. I was becoming what the biohacker Dave Asprey calls the CEO of my own biology. I wasn't just a passenger anymore, subject to the whims of my energy levels, moods, and cravings. I was in the driver's seat. I could intentionally shift my state. If I felt tired, I knew I could use breathing techniques to get energized. If I felt stressed, I knew I could use meditation to find calm. If I needed to focus, I had a system to create an environment for deep work. This wasn't about just being more productive, in the traditional sense of checking off more tasks. It felt like I'd gotten a fundamental upgrade to my human operating system. I had more energy, more clarity, and more control than ever before. The experiment had become my new lifestyle. So after 30 days, what were the actual results I tracked? And I want to be clear, these are my personal, self-reported numbers. Some of them were exactly what I'd hoped for. My productivity, which I measured by key tasks completed per day, had increased by over 150%. My daily energy levels, which I tracked on a scale of 1 to 10, went from an average of a 4 to a consistent 9. My sleep tracker showed a 30% increase in restorative deep sleep. My phone screen time dropped by over 60% because I just wasn't reaching for it for mindless distraction anymore. But the most shocking result wasn't on a chart or a graph. It was a realization that changed everything I thought I knew about success and high performance. I went into this thinking that billionaires had some secret, magical hacks that gave them superpowers. I thought the cold plunge was a magic pill, that fasting was a shortcut to genius. But I was wrong. The real secret isn't the biohack itself. It's the intentionality behind it. The power of the cold plunge isn't just the dopamine rush. It's the act of voluntarily doing something difficult first thing in the morning. It trains your mind to face adversity, which makes every other challenge in your day seem smaller. The power of intermittent fasting isn't just about the ketones. It's the discipline of mastering your own impulses. It teaches you that you are not a slave to your cravings. The power of meditation isn't just about feeling calm. It's about building the awareness to see the gap between a stimulus and your reaction. In that gap, you find your freedom. And the power of time blocking isn't just about efficiency. It's about declaring what is truly important to you and defending that time with your life. These aren't hacks. They are practices. They are a form of training for your mind and body. The billionaires aren't successful just because they do these things. They do these things because they cultivate the mindset of discipline, resilience, and intentionality that success requires. The routine doesn't create the person. The person creates the routine. The biggest discovery was that this isn't just about biology. It's about psychology. It's about making a conscious decision to be the architect of your own life, rather than a victim of your circumstances. That was the real secret I unlocked. So, will I continue to live like a billionaire? Yes and no. I'm definitely keeping the cold plunges, the meditation, and the time blocking. They've fundamentally changed my life for the better. But I might not be so rigid with the fasting, especially on weekends. The ultimate lesson here is that you don't need $1 billion to adopt the mindset of the world's top performers. You don't have to do everything I did. Please don't go from 0 to a 3-minute ice bath overnight. That's a recipe for failure. Start with one thing. Just start by drinking a glass of water before your morning coffee. Or try a 30-second cold blast at the end of your normal shower. Or block out just one 60-minute session this week for your most important task and treat that time as sacred. The goal isn't to perfectly replicate someone else's routine. The goal is to start practicing the art of being intentional, to prove to yourself that you are in control. Because once you realize that, everything changes. If this journey resonated with you, and you want to see more experiments in human optimization, make sure you hit that subscribe button for the BioOptimize channel. And let me know in the comments, what is the one biohack you would be most willing to try? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.